Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are all doing really well. Now today's video is the contradictions of the INFP. I am so super curious to see how many of these points you guys relate to. But before we begin, drumroll please. This video is sponsored today by Ana Luisa. Now this is my very first sponsorship on this channel and I'm so super excited to be collaborating with this gorgeous jewelry brand. Now if you guys are sub to my channel, I know that most of you guys are quite ethically inclined and that is why I love this jewelry brand so much. Ana Luisa cares about our planet and that is why their jewelry is ethically sourced. Their gold is 100% recyclable. Now the reason why Ana Luisa cares a lot about this concept is because it takes 20 tons of earth to mine one single piece of golden jewelry. That of course is the reason why many jewelry companies won't tell you where they source their gold from. However, Ana Luisa is so confident in the fact that they are environmentally friendly and that is exactly why I love them too. So of course I'm wearing some right now. These are such gorgeous pieces and I picked another pair which I in fact have chosen to wear with my wedding dress. Now of course I'm quite quirky, so my wedding dress is gold, but if you or someone you know prefers more of the traditional look, Ana Luisa also has formal pairs of jewelry to suit any kind of event. So if you are after an ethical piece of jewelry, please check out the link below, and if you use the code Morningstar10 then you get 10% off your chosen piece of jewelry. So without further ado, let's begin the contradictions of the INFP and let's see how many you relate to. So the first point I want to talk about is INFPs can be immensely driven or apathetic. So I've talked many times on this channel about the process of introverted feeling and extroverted intuition working together when INFPs are really interested in pursuing something. So basically when an INFP values something, they are going to fight to the ends of the earth for that thing that they value. And if they have an outlet or a way for them to express their innermost values, they're going to jump at the chance. This could manifest in ways such as playing a piece of music like songwriting, or whether the INFP might be a fine artist and they express themselves through art, or it could even be in the form of like a protest or a cause that they could lead. A really good example of that is Princess Diana. Now she was said to be an INFP and she was a patron to over 100 charities. It's not so much being the charities that sticks out for me when I think about Princess Diana, but it's more so that she was a patron to these charities despite what the royals wanted her to be. So Queen Elizabeth despised who Diana was and what Diana stood for. And this was such a fact that Elizabeth tried to stop Diana in many instances, but Diana, of course, resisted and she continued to stand up for what she believed in. Despite this fact, however, an INFP can certainly A, lose interest in the project that they were pursuing, or B, just have no interest at all in the things that are going around them. So an INFP can so easily fall off the wagon when they are persuaded by other things that kind of capture the introverted feeling in ways that they can express that through extroverted intuition. So for instance, you could really love to say play the piano and you're writing a song and it's really expressive and you're feeling good playing it. But what you might find difficult is the fact that you may not be able to get those results straight away. So if you're a beginner piano player and you're practicing, but you really want to get to that next level with it and it's really difficult to do so, then something else might take your interest away from that, especially if it's going to help you express yourself. And that of course is where introverted sensing and extroverted thinking come in, or let's just say lack thereof. Sometimes INFPs may lack a little bit of willpower if they feel like they're not getting the results straight away. Another example of this is the INFP may not have interest in anything around them at all. Now, an example of this is when I was at high school, I absolutely loved drama class. I lived it, I breathed it, and I aced it. I got the first in drama in my last year of school. But because I put in so much effort into drama class, and not just drama, but also music and my art class as well, I had other interests, I didn't have any room left for the more of the boring things, such as math. I didn't do very well at it. I actually flunked it in 5th form, so when I was about 15. And it got so bad that I almost had to repeat the year, so I really had to exercise that extroverted thinking to really make sure that I address those mundane things, such as maths. So the next contradictory point about INFPs is that they can be both perfectionist and negligent. So INFPs can absolutely be their biggest critic. You won't have to point out a flaw in an INFP because they will already know that flaw. They tend to be very self-aware types of people. And so any kind of flaw that they have or perceived flaw or anything about them, they are going to know off the back of their hands. When an INFP values something, they will go to the ends of the earth to make sure that what they value is addressed in the most perfect way possible. They won't miss any small detail whatsoever, and if they do, they will probably tend to beat themselves up for making a mistake, which is really quite silly because, life's about making mistakes. But you know what? An INFP, even though they know this, they'll still beat themselves up for it. And the reason why this is because they tend to be very idealistic types of people. So they put themselves on a pedestal and they expect the best of themselves. If they don't deliver, then it's like, well, what good are you? That's how it kind of feels anyway. Now, very much like the first point, because they put so much emphasis into addressing an introverted feeling backed up with extroverted intuition, they can also be quite negligent of other things in their lives. INFPs tend to put their idealism and passion before sometimes practical and mundane matters. A very good example of that is a stereotypical INFP might have a very messy space that they don't address until absolutely necessary. So they don't have any plates to eat off because they've been so busy working on their project that they have neglected doing the dishes. And then when they're hungry, they, have to wash a few dishes. Now, of course, that is a stereotype. Not every INFP is like that. We, of course, are all very different individuals despite results that we get on a personality test. However, that is so true for me. I am quite a messy person and I will neglect mundane duties in favor of things that I am passionate about. For example, I'm filming this YouTube video today and the house is an absolute pigsty. Dishes need to be done, washing needs to be done, and I have not done any of it. It's almost 2 p.m. in the afternoon and I gotta go pick the kids up very soon. So the next contradictory thing about INFPs is that they want relationships, but they also limit human contact. Now this one is probably the saddest one of them all because INFPs, all they really want is deep and meaningful connections with others. So whether that INFP connects with others because they may share similar values or the other person may not share their values, but the INFP can still have really deep, meaningful and genuine conversations with them. INFPs may struggle to make friends for a few different reasons here. Not only do they kind of limit themselves based on the fact that they only really care about making connections with people who can establish and also sustain genuine and authentic connection, but also because they struggle to open up a lot. Now, I'm a little bit of an exception because here I am spilling my guts to the entire world on YouTube, but that is a little bit of a different matter. I am really different in social situations, and James can back this up because I can take quite a while to drop my guard and really let my authentic self out. But it's not so much the fact that I'm not authentic. I'm always authentic, but I tend to hold back and become quite quiet. So it's not that I'm not being authentic, it's just that I'm being quiet about who I am. So in social situations, I don't really talk a lot, and I struggle to have conversations that kind of lead to nowhere. I have found it difficult to be able to open up to people and to trust others with delicate information about who I am. INFPs can be quite sensitive about who they are. They can be very protective about who they are. So they're not just going to open up to just any old person and expect that that person is going to take them in with all their heart and soul. And not only that, but INFPs are introverts. Let's not forget that very important fact. They need time and space to recharge their batteries in the comfort of their own space. When I met James, he was so easy to open up to because I felt a genuine instant connection with him. So I could open up really easily. There are some people that I can just do that with. But of course, it was a little bit harder when he introduced me to the people around him. And even to this day, I still even feel like an outsider with some social groups of ours. It doesn't really help the fact that I am a stay-at-home parent and I don't really get out much. Being trapped within four walls can really play upon the mind, and it can lower your confidence in many ways. So I think that if I had more practice just getting out there more and interacting with more people, that I may open up a little bit more, and I may not become an extrovert per se, because I will always be an introvert. That is part of my identity, because of course introversion has nothing to do with confidence or being able to talk to people, but it's the fact that being able to get out there and being able to talk to people with confidence, that's the kind of thing that I want to work on as an INFP. So the next point is that INFPs can be both gentle yet fierce. So as we have established throughout this entire channel, not just on this video, but on every single one of my other videos, INFPs are introverted feelers. When we value something, we will fight to the ends of the earth for it. That is very well established. However, despite this fact, INFPs can also be really chilled out, really humble, really flexible, and that is actually one of our main elements, or from what I've seen from other INFPs I know of, the flexibility and the humbleness is what really sticks out. Many a times INFPs don't mind working from the sidelines to help the bigger picture progress. They don't need to be at the center of attention in order to feel the kudos or the praise of other people. They don't need that. They just need to see certain results happen that add to the bigger picture of themselves. And in fact, a lot of the time, being in the limelight actually might make them feel really uncomfortable. It really kind of depends what the situation is, of course. INFPs can be really empathetic and patient, and a very clear stereotype of the INFP is that they are such good friends because they are good listeners. There is this funny meme somewhere that I see every now and again that it talks about INFPs being everyone's therapist, but they are the ones that need therapy, and I chuckle at that because I find it quite true. But the fierceness comes out in the INFP when that INFP's values get trodden all over. Now you will see this from one of my very first videos, the fire-breathing dragon, which I featured on my last video as well because I did a reaction to my earlier videos. Now I explained in a very quirky way the process of introverted feeling and when our values get trodden on, that we can become like a fire-breathing dragon protecting our treasures. You'll find that many a times INFPs will stand up for their beliefs if their values do get trodden on. That's why INFPs tend to have this notion that they are the champion of the cause. I know I'm like that, and I can be really stubborn. And even James was talking to me this morning about it, talking about how in the jobs that I had applied for in the past and job trials, etc., that I had attended, that I quite staunchly had these sets of ways that I would want people to treat me, because I've been so burnt in the past when it comes to certain jobs that I've had and managers that have abused me. I am really quite picky with where I work or who I want to work for. They have to kind of win me because I'm not accepting any kind of abuse anymore. So I have these sets of kind of boundaries, and if I feel like I have to bend over backwards in a way that I find is extremely unreasonable, I'm not going to do anything because I deserve to be treated better. And I find that this concept also really needs to be applied to people who are in freelancing work. If you're a musician or a videographer or a photographer, I find that many artists tend to sell themselves short with how much they charge themselves out for. There have been so many instances I know of that people have just done work for free, and that's not on. You need to put a price tag on yourselves. So moving on to the last point, that INFPs need autonomy, but they also need to feel grounded and safe. So INFPs absolutely loathe restriction, they loathe routine, they loathe any kind of a micromanagement or anyone that kind of wants to suppress them and trap them in. INFPs need to know that they have the freedom and the ability to be able to explore and express themselves. This is such an important part of being an INFP because it makes up our entire identity. However, many times that INFP may suffer from overstimulation, especially if they are in a very disorganized environment, which of course can be a product of them neglecting everything around them to focus on their passions. I know that as an INFP and as a highly sensitive person, if I am overstimulated, I will freak out. Like, I will get so overwhelmed that I will just kind of fall into myself. So for instance, an INFP may want to go traveling, and they travel around the entire world. They sleep on people's couches, sleep in hostels. They're free birds, and that's really cool because that is exploring the extroverted intuition and introverted feeling, of course. However, that INFP may get to a point where they kind of freak out because it's like, oh my gosh, like, where's my home base? Like, I need something to ground me. I need something to pull me back down so that I can recharge and feel safe again. The INFP also needs to know that when they do go out in the world to explore, that they are also safe doing so, that it, like, even if they choose to take risks, that those risks are going to pay off and that they're always going to be okay. INFPs are really sensitive and they need to have that comfort and that cotton wool around them. So my personal experience of this is that, yes, I'm a stay-at-home mum. I can feel really trapped by being at home all the time, especially because I don't have a social circle, and my only kind of outlet really is YouTube and connecting with you guys, which is amazing. But many times I feel quite restricted by that, and I want to be able to break free. I want to be able to explore my options outside of the home. However, the thing is that even with that comes a little bit of fear. I still want the safety net of being able to come back home and feel safe in my environment as well. And I especially have that with James, and that's one aspect I really love about being with him, is that he makes me feel safe. He makes me feel like I can go out there and explore when I need to, because I know that he's always going to have my back and catch me if I'm having a really difficult time or I'm feeling really overwhelmed with things. So anyway, that about wraps up this video today. Now, this was a bit of a whopper. So if you could relate to any of these points, please pop a comment down below. I'd really love to hear about it. But for now, I hope you have a really good day, night, evening, morning, wherever you guys are in the world, and I'll see you guys all again next time for the next video. See ya.